Today on Rappler, Tropical Storm Kinta, international name Wukong, threatens the Visayas and Mindanao barely 3 weeks after Typhoon Pablo. Disaster response groups get ready as Kinta nears. And Newsweek's print life ends with hashtag last print issue. Hello, on Christmas Day, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. Tropical Storm Kinta, international codename Wukong, intensifies as it continues to move towards eastern Visayas. Public storm signal number 2 is up in these parts of the Visayas, in eastern Samar, western Samar, Leyte, southern Leyte, northern Cebu, Camotes Island, Bohol, Biliran. Signal number 2 is raised in these parts of Mindanao, Dinagat Province, Siargao Island, and Surigao del Norte, while signal number 1 is up in the following areas in Visayas: northern Samar, Masbate, Ticao Island, Aklan, Capiz, Antique, Iloilo, Guimaras, Negros Provinces, Siquijor, the rest of Cebu. Signal number 1 is also raised in the following areas in Mindanao: Agusan del Norte, Agusan del Sur, Misamis Oriental, Camiguin, and Surigao del Sur. Estimated rainfall amount is heavy to intense, with 10 to 20 millimeters per hour within the 350-kilometer diameter of the storm. The storm is expected to be 50 kilometers east of Cuyo Island in Palawan by Wednesday afternoon. The Philippine Navy is on standby for disaster response operations as Typhoon Kinta approaches Visayas and Mindanao. This is just barely 3 weeks after Typhoon Pablo. Navy headquarters in Manila instructed naval forces and their disaster response units to be on alert as early as Sunday when Kinta was spotted as a low-pressure area. A Navy unit is composed of 12 members equipped with a 6x6 truck, a couple of rubber boats, rescue gear, and equipment. The Navy says it's on standby and ready for national disaster response operation, even on Christmas. The Bureau of Fire Protection says at least 8 people died in 2 separate fires in Metro Manila on Christmas Day. The BFP says a fire began in a residential neighborhood in Aguilar Street, Project 7, Quezon City. The fire reaches Task Force Charlie, which mobilizes other fire trucks within Metro Manila, before it was under control an hour later. In San Juan, the situation turns ugly as residents in a burning shanty town turn against the firefighters. Residents say the firemen didn't come to their aid fast enough. Chief Superintendent Santiago Laguna says a man mistaken for a fireman was beaten and died in the fire. But Laguna says the residents are to blame. He says fire trucks had a hard time entering the narrow streets blocked by parked cars and carts. The fire left 2,000 families homeless. The Moro Islamic Liberation Front starts choosing its nominees for the 15-member Transition Commission, or TRANSCOM, that will craft the legislative measure for the Bangsamoro Peace Plan. MILF Secretariat Chair Muhammad Amin says the initial list of nominees include a woman, a member of the indigenous people, an Islamic scholar, and a senior military leader of the Bangsamoro Islamic Armed Forces. President Benigno Aquino will appoint the 15 members of the TRANSCOM. The MILF will nominate 8 members, while the government selects 7. Newly installed Philippine National Police Chief Director General Alan Purisima warns Filipinos against using illegal firecrackers. He says vendors selling them will be punished. Purisima also orders his men not to bring in the new year by firing their guns. He says there are safer means to greet the new year, and our policemen should be the role models. The PNP partners with the Department of Health in charge of informing the public of the dangers of firecrackers. The PNP is inspecting firecracker factories and stores. Injuries due to fireworks shoot up to 44, exceeding incidents recorded in the same period last year. The Department of Health Chief Eric Tayag says on his Twitter account, Metro Manila leads other regions with 14 injuries. Tayag also tweets, a 22-year-old man in Compostela Valley lost his thumb, index, and middle fingers after picking up a super lolo. A Super Lolo is a locally produced firecracker known for its strong blast. Most of the injuries, or exactly 80%, were among males. 4% of the injured were under the influence of alcohol. They're drunk. 32% of the cases were children, 10 years old and younger. The health department is considering a partial or total fireworks ban if more Filipinos are injured this year. The local government of Davao City has already imposed a total ban on firecrackers. 32 people have been arrested in the city for violating the ban. Indonesian Muslims threw rotten eggs at Christians waiting to attend Christmas Mass outside Jakarta. Some 100 Christian worshippers planned to hold a Mass in unoccupied land where they hoped to build a church. But furious locals physically blocked the road and threw rotten eggs at the gathering worshippers. A local police chief says they managed to convince the Christians to abandon the plan, to abandon the Mass and return home. 90% of Indonesians are Muslims. Indonesia has the world's largest Muslim population. Its constitution guarantees freedom of religion, but rights groups say violence against minorities, including Christians, escalated since 2008. Hashtag last print issue. Almost 80 years after first going to print, the final Newsweek magazine hit newsstands Monday, featuring an ironic hashtag as a symbol of its transition to an all-digital format. The second largest weekly news magazine in the United States struggles with a steep drop in print advertising revenue, steadily declining circulation, and migration of readers to free news online. In an introduction titled "A New Chapter," sometimes change isn't just good, it's necessary. Editor-in-Chief Tina Brown writes, "The next issue in the first week of January will be on your iPad or Kindle or phone." She says the all-digital version would be targeted at today's, quote, highly mobile, opinion-leading audience. Well, let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 2, Pope Benedict XVI says in his 2012 Christmas Eve Mass, religion can be corrupted, leading to violence and wars, but refutes critics who claim denying God's existence would lead to peace. He says, quote, "It is true that religion can become corrupted when people think they have to take God's cause into their own hands, making God into their private property." At number 7, ailing world icon Nelson Mandela, 94, spends his 16th day and Christmas Eve in a hospital recuperating from gallstones operation and recurring lung infection. Before his retirement in 2004, South Africa's first black president hosted a Christmas feast in his home village for impoverished children. At number 9, Twitter users invite British CNN host Piers Morgan to Australia, Jamaica, Malaysia, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and even the North Pole and the Philippines. He replies, quote, "Of that I am certain," to a Filipino official's Twitter invitation to come to the Philippines where, quote, "it's more fun." Morgan trends on Twitter on December 24th when he asked his followers which countries are willing to take him if he has to leave the United States after an online petition to have him deported over his support to ban assault weapons after the deadly massacre in Colorado. And at number 10, the party conventions during the U.S. elections, Felix Baumgartner's Edge of the Atmosphere parachute jump, and the ongoing war in Syria are 3 of the epiphanies in 2012 that mark how video sharing site YouTube may soon overtake traditional news sources. Storyful.com's Markham Nolan says these represent a major shift in the dynamics of news media. He says, quote, "YouTube is now becoming a real-time window to world events through live streaming."
The likes of which we hadn't seen for a long time.
For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. Every story on Rappler has a mood meter which gives you 8 emotions to choose from. Click how you feel and your vote comes down to the mood navigator in the middle of the front page, which crowdsources the mood of the day. It also shows you the top 10 stories which have gotten the most number of votes on each of their mood meters. If you take a look today, today's story, Kinta intensifies signal. Number 2 is up in 8 areas, 73% sad, 8% angry, 7% afraid. That follows the weekend stories of the standoff in Cebu, where most people were angry up until last night. And here's an interesting one, the story with the most number of votes, Risa Ontiveros, Senate win like RH bill passage, uphill but possible. 15% annoyed, 84% happy, all leading to the mood of the day. Take a look. Today, most people are happy. It's Christmas Day. That's Rappler's Newscast for today, Tuesday, December 25, 2012. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter and help us crowdsource the mood of the day. I'm Maria Ressa. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today.